Good morning, guys, and welcome to Wednesday. I hope your week is going well. Today, we're going to be talking about attempting to find our value through principles or other values. Might be a little confusing because of the interchange of words, definitions and things like that. So, bear with me. Let me get this shared out to the community real quick. It's going to pop out here. Hope your Wednesday's going well. Mine's been quiet so far, which is actually kind of nice. So, hi, Connie. Nice to see you. Let's plop this into the group. Thriving Beyond Codependency. Boom. There we go. Hit the post. And boom. There we go. So, good morning. So, today we're going to talk about how we tend to seek our value through external principles. Concepts that we buy into, like integrity or play or connection or stability, those kind of things. A lot of times we tend to root our value, our sense of worth in those things being active in our life or being found in a person, place, or thing outside of us. This is a subtle way of externalizing our value. It causes us to seek and to chase and to even try to prove or control things so that people, places, and things line up the way we need them to or we want them to, so we feel safe, we feel valuable, we feel seen. And this can really backfire on us, especially if a person, place, or thing disappoints us. We can internalize that as something wrong with us, right? It can break trust. It can create projected expectations onto people. Rather than us being able to see them for who they are, we try to make them into something that they're not. We have a fantasy about them and about ourselves. And this can lead to all sorts of complications in relationship and in life. Because if we're not able to receive people, places, and things as they are, we're going to be unable to connect with them where they're at. We're going to also be unable to understand what really matters to us, and understand how they fit with us in our own happiness. So when we're trying to play with value, innate worth, and we're trying to find that through following principles that somebody else has given us or that we've determined are valuable for us, we're still not properly nurturing our sense of worth. I'm going to give you some examples of how principle values show up, because remember, there's 3 types of value that everybody operates from. We've got transactional value, which we discussed in the previous training. We've got principle values, which we're discussing today, and then we've got innate values, which we'll be discussing tomorrow. Now, principle values show up as, like I mentioned, examples of things that we follow, that guide our decisions, that govern our boundaries, our limits, that connect us to life in a way that helps us make decisions. And so these would be things like integrity, play, sobriety. That's one of mine. Being very sober about my relationships, about what I'm feeling, about how people are. Effectiveness, simplicity, connection, love, joy, freedom. These are all innate or core principles, core priorities that people have that they use to guide their decisions in their life. But if we're confusing those with innate value, we're going to get ourselves lost. It's actually one of the more powerful tools out there, but it needs to be put in place in the right order. Because with my own therapy, my therapist started me out with principle values. They're like, well, we can make you more confident. We can help you like yourself more. And identify the values that really matter to you. And there's some truth to that. Our confidence goes up when we're aligned with values that matter to us because we feel like we're more congruent with who we are. But when those break down, or when we fail to align with those things, or when something outside of ourselves isn't aligned with them, we have a high probability of internalizing that as something wrong with us because we're still anchoring our value externally. So I'm reinforcing that because I know I'm repeating myself there, but I'm reinforcing it because it's important to really hear and grasp this, because if you're in this place in your life, it's going to make things difficult for you to make big decisions about people, places, and things in your life. So when you have your value internalized, and that becomes what's called innate value, which we'll talk about tomorrow, it becomes a lot easier to make these decisions and to see where your principal values are showing up in your life and where to go and what to do with them. But because I didn't understand this, and because the therapist, honestly, Robert, didn't understand this well, I got myself stuck in a cycle of proving myself and of chasing value through other people. So it became transactional again. It became externalized. And that really caused me a lot of grief for a lot of years. It also revealed some of the more deep challenges that come to us when we have externalized value, right? When we're dealing with that transactionalism. Because approval and success become very potent elements in our life, because I mean, God, they're feeding our need to have that validation that we're worthy, that we're worth it, that we have something to contribute, that we have a worth and value. And when we become internalized in our value, the potency of approval and excess, rejection and failure go down significantly, because we're no longer being driven externally, but we're being inspired internally. We're being energized from within us. And that helps us make better decisions because we're more aligned with our voice, we're more aligned with our vision, we're more aligned with what matters to us as human beings. And that's why I'm doing this training, because a lot of times principal values doesn't have a whole lot of like glamorous weight to people, because it can be hard to detect. But it's an important factor to see in your life. Are you using your principal values to feed your own sense of worth, or are you using it to guide your life? And that's the question I put to you today. How is that working for you? And what happens when you're not aligned with your principal values? What happens when others aren't? And how do you internalize that? How does that affect your sense of value, your sense of worth? How does it propel or diminish your confidence and courage in your life to be who you are? Because if they're not functioning properly, they're going to diminish if they're not working right? And that's because your value is externalized. So that's the question I want invite you to explore today, guys, is how am I externalizing my value through the principles that I espouse as mattering to me, of having worth to me in my life? Am I using them to guide me, or am I using them to define my worth as a human being? That's it for today, guys. It's pretty short, pretty simple, pretty to the point. If you got, let me know what you got out of today's questions. Today's training rather. Let me know if it makes sense to you, because I know this can kind of be a blurry place in this journey of coming back to ourselves and really understanding what our real value is, and how we can tap into that, how we can follow it, and how that creates happiness for us, liberates us from our codependency, from our addiction to approval, to our resistance to rejection, and to our habit of chasing and trying to fill our own emptiness through things outside of ourselves. So let me know in the comments below what you've gotten out of today's training. And guys, if the happiness strategy starts here in just under 5 days. The doors will be closing pretty quick, and I'll be raising the price for the next iteration that starts here at the end of March. So if you want to get in at like an income-aware basis, so it's really affordable based on what you make, this is the time to do that. You can apply to the link above if you're on Facebook, link below if you're on YouTube. This is my 13-week strategy that teaches you how to resolve trauma, how to retrieve your value and anchor it within you, how to tune into your voice and follow it, and how to tune up your vision and create it in your life. So that's what liberates you from codependency, liberates you from love addiction, and it connects you back to your happiness. It's already built into you. You just got to be trained to tune into it, and that's what the happiness strategy does for you. So let me know if you have any questions about this. You can apply above by clicking that link if you're on YouTube below. Thank you guys for showing up for today's very short and curt training. If you have any questions, just post them below and I'll be glad to respond to them. You guys remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping, and I'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's training on innate value. This is the big one. This is what you got to understand, what matters, so you can succeed in your life. Okay? Talk to you then. Bye-bye.